What's up, curious youngsters? If we're already wasting time on useless things and endless videos, why not waste just a few minutes instead? Teaching curiosity, learning 30 totally epic facts that you'll forget in 10 minutes. But these aren't just any facts. They're going to leave you completely amazed. Because of this and so much more, here are 30 things you didn't know 5 minutes ago. Even if you're not exactly a movie buff, you probably know or have at least heard of the 60s film called Psycho, a trailer that surprisingly is quite well known, among other reasons, for being the first movie to show a toilet on screen. With so many different countries, we know that each one has very different cultures. And for example, while in some countries almost everyone has very different names. For example, in South Korea, there's the interesting fact that 1 out of every 5 South Koreans has the last name Kim, and 1 out of every 10 has the last name Park. Why so repetitive, Korea? Why? You probably already know that the greatest treasure in the world was found in the United States, but you probably can't imagine where the second one was. That's because it's the Vatican, which surprisingly holds the Ludo of the United States, the world's largest gold treasure. What you're about to hear can be good or bad, depending on each person. And that's because it's about body hair. Is this really considered the fastest growing part of the human body? But the reality is that it's actually facial hair that grows the fastest, even faster than your own nails. Please don't try it. Science says ants survive microwaves because they're tiny, have little water, and their chitin exoskeleton resists microwaves. If you're one of those people who think they have a lot of bad luck in their life, well, you'll probably change your mind when you hear about this man. Roy C. Sullivan was a United States Park Ranger in the 1980s, known for being struck by lightning 7 times. Some experts believe being left or right-handed can affect life expectancy, even if it seems unrelated. Yes, and according to British Broadcasting Corporation News, a study was conducted analyzing 2,000 right-handed and left-handed people. Studies show that, on average, left-handed people live about 9 years less than right-handed people. Watch out, Ned Flanders. You probably never stop to think about whether it's possible to sneeze while we sleep, which is actually pretty confusing. In fact, it's said that this simply can't happen because during the rapid eye movement phase of sleep, the muscles responsible for sneezing are simply paralyzed. The Empire State is without a doubt one of the most interesting tourist attractions in New York. That's because major companies like LinkedIn, Citizen, HNTD, and others have headquarters here. But something not many people know is that this building even has its own zip code. Yes, that's correct. It's 10,118. There are a lot of interesting facts about the moon, and maybe you didn't know that. Although the explanation is a bit complicated here, unlike on our planet, the shadows are quite a lot darker. This is because we don't have air, nor Rayleigh scattering, which is basically the scattering of visible light. Shadows appear much darker when bright sunlight makes shaded areas stand out more. Flamingos are definitely interesting birds and probably the favorites of many people because of their characteristic pink color. It's common that you've at least seen one in a movie, but maybe you haven't seen one in real life. When they bend a leg, they're actually bending the ankle, not the knee, as one might think. Buying fruits and vegetables at the supermarket is likely a normal part of your life. Did you know some foods may not be as fresh as they seem? And when it comes to apples, you might actually be eating fruit that's up to a year old. They're harvested, waxed, and kept in cold storage. That's pretty weird, my friend. Portugal is a country known for many things in general, but it's particularly famous for its large cork production, even if it seems minor to you. This country is the top producer, making 160,000 tons a year, about 52% of the world total. Maybe being thirsty is one of the most annoying feelings, especially after a long day, when all you want is to finally have a glass of water. We feel thirsty after losing 1% of this liquid from our body. Interestingly, losing about 4% can reduce muscle and brain performance by 20%. If you're interested in moving to the United States or just visiting, it's worth knowing this place hosts the world's largest bat colony. It's bracken bats in Texas, where millions of these Mexican animals arrive from March to October. The moon landing sparked global curiosity, and it's said that Buzz Aldrin, the second man to set foot on the moon, was the first to pee right after doing so. And really, this is a bit strange. However, it is true that astronauts back then had to relieve themselves in a rather strange way using this device. How disgusting. Let's see if you knew that, my friend. Today, aloe vera is widely used, primarily known for skin products and similar purposes. If you've seen one, you probably noticed its spines. These serve the purpose of tolerating extreme dryness and storing the water needed to survive. There is a rather long list of people who have received a Nobel Peace Prize at some point in their lives. But is there a man in particular whom you would never think could be capable of winning one? Adolf Hitler actually received a nomination letter for one of these prizes in 1939. Later, the official admitted it was clearly an attempt. Sarcasm. In New York City, the Statue of Liberty is definitely the top tourist attraction, but it wasn't always a statue. After opening in 1886, it served as a lighthouse for 16 years, with its torch visible from 40 kilometers away. We know that some animals can have behaviors that seem really adorable, and polar bears are no exception. You see, they greet each other by touching noses. This happens because one polar bear politely asks another to enter its territory and possibly share food. There may be many things you don't know about certain animals, like probably the sheep. The truth is, they have a strange peculiarity, and according to a study carried out by the University of Cambridge, these animals are not only able to recognize human faces, but also to imitate their facial expressions, such as, for example, a smile. How interesting, Dolly? If you've been to an amusement park, you've probably seen a Ferris wheel. And what's interesting is that this ride has a rather disturbing secret about its origin. Quite curious. At first, Ferris wheels were invented by a businessman named Marcus Thompson, who wanted to keep people away from places he considered sinful. Sleeping in a cold room or without enough covers can often lead to nightmares, or at least it's not uncommon. And even though there isn't much official information about it, it's said that sleeping in a cold place increases the chances of having nightmares. We've all watched television shows at some point, whether they're for kids or not, where you can clearly hear canned laughter, which is typical of comedy. It's disturbing, but you might hear laughter from people who have already passed away, since those recordings are many years old. Google is undoubtedly one of the world's largest companies, with millions of users worldwide. However, something that stands out is the large number of benefits. If an employee dies, their partner gets half their salary for 10 years. We're always discovering new species worldwide, but recently, biologists found a new ant species in Manhattan, cleverly nicknamed Manhattans. They're only found there. Fascinating, Mother Nature. It's no surprise that one of the most well-known deserts around the world is the Sahara Desert, which you've probably heard mentioned at one time or another. Scientists say that using just 1 or 2% of its area for solar panels could provide enough energy for the entire world. This isn't new, but many animal and insect species worldwide are deadly to humans. In fact, when we talk about spiders, we can undeniably refer to the Tellin spider in Buda, Australia, and this one is known for being the deadliest spider of all. Although luckily, for a couple of years now, there has been an antidote to save us. If you have cats, you've probably come across the unpleasant situation of seeing their urine on some of your things. And well, before you get mad at your pet, while this action marks their territory, sometimes it's just their way of seeking to form a bond with you.